AI isn't just a tool for faster experiments. It's transforming how we develop, how we optimize, and how we manufacture biologics from the start to the finish. When integrated thoughtfully, it can empower a lot of the scientists to improve the quality, to accelerate the timelines, and ultimately, it can help get a lot of therapies to patients faster. AI doesn't replace human expertise, it amplifies it.
Welcome to part 2 with Ilya Burkov from Nebius AI. In the first half of our conversation, we explored how AI is transforming process development from data overload to autonomous DOE studies. Now, we're diving into the challenges many of you are facing. How to organize the huge datasets, where to store your data, and how the factory of the future looks like. We'll also get practical. So we'll answer this question: if you want to start using AI tomorrow, where should you begin? Well, let's jump back in and talk about manufacturing's AI-enabled future. Are you juggling the complexities of CMC development while trying to enjoy the beauty of biotech? Have you ever wondered if there's a way to simplify bioprocessing? Welcome to the Smart Biotech Scientist podcast, where we're diving headfirst into the very challenges you face. We're breaking it down, demystifying the jargon, and giving you the keys to unlock your full potential. I'm your host, David Brohlman, and I get it. With 15 plus years in the biotech industry, I face the same challenges you do. There's a way to simplify and streamline so you can remove complexity, you can skip trials and errors, deliver without delay your groundbreaking therapy to clinics and market, and still enjoy every single step. Do you want to learn how industry experts and I did it? Grab a cup of coffee and your favorite notebook and pen. Now is the time to take your bioprocessing game to the next level. Let's smarten up biotech. You work in all kinds of industry, or your company is working in different parts of the industry or even other industries. But previously, when I was working in technology innovation, we would always look above and beyond, look what the other industries are doing and try to learn from them, because there's no doubt about that. In a lot of innovations and a lot of trends, other industries are much further ahead than the biotech industry because obviously the biotech industry is more conservative for good reasons. What do you think should we as biotech scientists learn from other industries? Where should we leverage either whether it's technology or a mindset or ways to collaborate in order to make bioprocessing even better?
Yeah, that's a great question. When you look at it, no two processes are the same. The idea is that when you are working with huge volumes of data, everybody from drug discovery and development to genomics to even imaging data for CTs or MRIs, you're working with a lot of unstructured data. The understanding of how to label it, how to prepare the data beforehand is key, because there's no good in having tons and tons of data, but then you can't use it for any kind of workloads. You don't have deep understanding in what this means. So I think that understanding a lot of the statistical background and understanding how we can use that data is key. So a lot of mathematics and a lot of algorithmic work is needed, irrespective of which industry you're coming in from. Understanding how you can really structure that data, how you can prepare it for a lot of the training rounds. That's how I would say it. There's a lot of reports and humans might miss a lot of these things. If you're not programming the code in the right way, the code is not going to fix it magically for you. So that needs to be done at hand. In terms of specific industries, I don't think that one industry does it better than the other. It's just that they're working with different types of data. When you're looking at drug discovery and drug development, a lot of the pharma companies, they're sitting on exabytes of data. It doesn't mean that they are ready to be used immediately.
Yeah, the unstructured data, that's a huge challenge, because if you look, for instance, at the manufacturing department, they have batch records, they have investigation reports, they have operator notes, they have all kinds of analytical data and so on. I mean, there's so much going on. And now as companies are going towards real-time release, I'm wondering, what is the right way to go about that? Like, where do you start and how do you actually make sure that finally you organize the data in the right way? Can you give us some advice here?
Sure. So, I mean, generative AI can read and summarize and connect these data sources to really identify the patterns and root causes. It can be used as a tool to transform a lot of the raw information into more actionable intelligence. It can help teams to prevent future deviations if there have been in the past and really optimize the processes a lot faster. And AI doesn't replace the operators. As I said, it doesn't replace the process engineers. It augments them. It is able to be used as a tool to read, synthesize unstructured reports. AI itself provides insights that humans might miss. So it use it as a guide or a smarter decision process for the next batch. It's like giving a team a microscope for process intelligence, helping every production run learn from the last. You're giving them very, very clear to understand and then decide what direction to take from that.
And any advice about how to structure the data, like what system to use, especially if you don't have that many resources? Can you use a simple database for that, or do you need a sophisticated program finally? I mean, you see a lot of people building some simple AI stuff. I'm not so sure if this is suitable for the biopharmaceutical world, but what is your take on that there?
There's various tools out there. I mean, both commercially available that work with databases and large data sets. In Nebius, we have an in-house tool called Tracto AI, which is used to basically accelerate the pre-training of the data, to label, to identify the data, and also prepare it for a large training round. But there are a lot of different tools out there in the market. It just depends on the volume size and what people are using. For us, for high performance compute, Tracto is very good working with petabytes and exabytes of data. So when teams have huge volume of that information, especially if they're not structured very well, that's what we recommend.
And I guess speed is also an issue once you have that much data, right?
Yes, speed, because even though it's text data, if you're working with petabytes or exabytes of data, everything's going to slow down. You make one mistake, you're going to have to repeat it. And those kind of processes typically take a few hours to a few weeks to run. So having the right tools in place will significantly help you reduce that time to market as well. So before the next training round is done, the iteration period needs to be as low as possible to decrease the time that you would spend on those processes. Nobody likes to work with it. It's not a fun thing to do, but it needs to be done because otherwise you're going to get rubbish on the way out.
I'd like to touch upon another part of manufacturing because we hear a lot about the factory of the future. And I know in bioprocessing, a lot of people have talked about Industry 4.0. We're probably now at Industry 5.0 with all the AI and so on. What is the new trend there? Is bioprocessing going to evolve in the next few years?
That's a great question. I'd love to think about it in the future and really understand. And we don't know the answers, but I would say that having an AI-enabled biomanufacturing facility that is fully interconnected, and by interconnected, I mean they have sensors across every unit's operation, from cell culture to purification to fill finish, a factory that's able to feed all the real-time data into an AI system. And then these AI systems analyze, predict, and optimize a lot of this continuously live, adjusting various parameters autonomously to maintain the yield, the quality, and the consistency of the product that's being made. It's a self-learning ecosystem where every process informs the next. Having that automated would be incredible. Having this AI-enabled biomanufacturing process that transforms production into a much more predictive and responsive ecosystem where every part of the system corrects any mistakes or deviations that might occur in real time before they impact production and before the facility is wasting time and effort. So the factory of the future for me is a much faster, smarter, and far more reliable than anything that we see at the moment. And having those various checkpoints in place to automate the system, I think that would be ideal.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be exciting to see where everything is going. It's very hard to predict. There's so much going on every day. Yeah. Let's make this now very practical, because let's assume I'm a CEO of a startup company and I want to make best use of all the AI technologies or the new technologies out there. Where should I start? I mean, it can be very overwhelming, and it can also be dangerous to jump on every train. You know, there's so many things going. What should I pursue, and maybe where should I wait?
That's a great one as well. I've been asked that a lot in general, especially with the teams that are just adopting AI, just starting to work with it. But the key, as I always say, is to start with clean and structured data, because there's even a single process unit like a bioreactor can generate very valuable insights if the data is well organized. From there, the teams should focus on very high impact areas like feed strategies or media optimization, where small, tiny incremental improvements in process parameters can yield quite significant gains in the end product. And you don't need to have a full AI team from day one. Start with the data you already have and really clear, measurable goals. Don't try to optimize everything at once. It's impossible to do. Pick one process that is well instrumented and has a high value. For example, upstream cell culture or a purification step. Collect the historical data and the real-time data, apply the simple predictive models, use those insights to then guide you through the decisions. And once you see that, make very measurable and data-driven. I like to say data says a lot more than opinions. Have those measurable improvements that you can expand to other areas, small pilot projects that are a faster way to demonstrate a return on investment and build confidence. So AI is a tool that can amplify a lot of this work. And that's how I would say the best way to start, by using AI to identify these patterns and predict the outcomes in one area. And the scientists always remain in control. They interpret the results and they guide the next steps. But that's what the collaboration that's needed between technology and the scientist at the end of it. And don't think that you have to do everything at once. Step by step, start somewhere, work with that and progress.
Yeah, I like that. Start simple, start somewhere, keep going, and then improve, right, as you're going, and add another layer as you're growing. Yeah.
That's what science is. That's what science has been for centuries. You learn, you iterate and repeat and improve.
Before we wrap up, Ilya, what burning question haven't I asked that you're eager to share with our biotech scientist community?
Oh, that's an interesting one. I suppose you haven't asked about using compute on-prem versus cloud much. We can talk about that and the pros and cons of each of the systems. So you started a little bit at the beginning talking about security and safety, but also I think that we need to highlight the fact that the level of scale is very different. So if somebody is doing on-prem compute, they might have a section of the building with GPUs, with the required power to run them and so on. But then say they've discovered a process that will make it a lot easier for them to do something, but they need to throw a bit more compute at it, as they say in the industry. To do that in-house, they would need to say, build a next building next door to host another few thousand GPUs, connect all the power, make sure that it's working and get that up and running. That process from start to finish would take months, if not years, for inexperienced groups to do, and costs quite a lot of money. Millions of dollars are at stake there. Whereas the other option that they have is to have the workload that they are comfortable with and then rely on the cloud for those burst capacities requirements or those expansions that they need, because those are not always guaranteed to be always used. They might have a need for, say, 100 GPUs in-house, and then they might have a workload that needs 1,000 for half a year or a year. And then after that 1 year period, they don't need that many. So if they build it in-house, it's going to be wasted and it's not going to be used. So having that flexibility to go up and down in their volume is key. And I think a lot of companies are at this stage where they look at the costs that are associated with building on-prem, and they look at it versus the costs associated with using cloud compute. Sometimes they don't factor in a lot of those things. They think that if they buy it and they use it, then they don't have to think about it in the future. But GPUs get outdated quickly. Every few years, you get a newer, better version. And you're essentially investing millions, if not hundreds of millions, into an infrastructure that's going to be redundant in 5 years' time. So why take all of that burden and all of that cost on you, whereas you can rely on a cloud provider like Nebius?
Great point. That's anyways an important point, whether it's computing, whether it's relying on a manufacturer, whether it's relying on a CRO for other analytics. I think these are very important questions. What do you keep in-house and what do you outsource? I think these are very, very important questions to navigate. So with all that we've covered today, Ilya, what is the most important takeaway?
Well, the most important takeaway is that AI isn't just a tool for faster experiments. It's transforming how we develop, how we optimize, and how we manufacture biologics from the start to the finish. When integrated thoughtfully, it can empower a lot of the scientists to improve the quality, to accelerate the timelines, and ultimately, it can help get a lot of therapies to patients faster. AI doesn't replace human expertise, it amplifies it. And the key takeaway is that the future of bioprocessing is a partnership. It's humans guiding strategy and AI providing the predictive insights and very autonomous optimizations. And together, they can make processes faster, much more smart, and more reliable. And if there's only one thing to remember in this entire podcast, it's that investing in clean data, AI-driven tools, and skilled teams today is how companies will stay competitive tomorrow, how they can grow, how they can expand, and the organizations can embrace AI now. And if they do, that will define the next generation of biomanufacturing. If they don't, they risk being overtaken by the organizations that do embrace AI.
Thank you, Ilya, for sharing your perspective on AI and where the industry is leading. I think it's an important conversation. Where can people get a hold of you?
Absolutely. I mean, LinkedIn would be the first place to start. Nebius.com as well. We do have a separate dedicated life science and healthcare section. Feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or by email, the usual connecting sites.
All right, great. I will leave the information in the show notes. And Ilya, thank you very much for being on the show today.
Thank you, David. It's been really fun.
This wraps up our conversation with Ilya Burkov from Nebius AI. From predictive scale-up to autonomous production ecosystems, we have seen that AI isn't replacing bioprocess scientists. It's amplifying what you do best. The future of biologics manufacturing is happening now, and you are part of it. If you found value here, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening from. Your support keeps this show going, so thank you so much. Well, I'll see you next time, and keep doing biotech the smart way. All right, smart scientists. That's all for today on the Smart Biotech Scientist podcast. Thank you for tuning in and joining us on your journey to bioprocess mastery. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast platform. By doing so, we can empower more scientists like you. For additional bioprocessing tips, visit us at smartbiotechscientist.com. Stay tuned for more inspiring biotech insights in our next episode. Until then, let's continue to smarten up biotech.